Well, many saw this past week the unpalatable battle between one of the better known as the Mistress, Kelly Khumalo, and wife Mandisa Meyiwa over the late soccer star Senzo Meyiwa's assets. This caused controversy, of course, as to who is entitled to his belongings. In a situation where two women are involved, many would like to know who is in favour of the law. Well, we now are joined by legal expert Paul Rademan to find out a little bit more on this dilemma, but really an example for other South Africans as well. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us here in the programme. What is the girlfriend of the deceased entitled to?
Yeah, and in South African law, a girlfriend or a mistress, as she's sometimes referred to, isn't really entitled to anything. There's no automatic right that she has or to any of the assets or any income that a deceased boyfriend might have.
Okay, so as the girlfriend, she's not entitled to it, but as the mother of his child, if she had to claim on behalf of her daughter?
Yes, well, certainly one has to start from the premise that in South African law, both biological parents certainly have an obligation to maintain their child or children. So certainly she, on behalf of her daughter, would be entitled to claim against the estate of Senzo. It would also depend on whether or not what was left in his will. He may or may not have made provision for her in his will.
Yeah.
If he hasn't, then certainly she, as the mother, in her capacity as the mother, not for herself, would be entitled to lodge a claim for maintenance, which would have to be actuarially determined to bring up the child for the rest of its life and maintain for the rest of its life. Both biological parents have a duty in law according to their respective means to maintain and keep their child.
Yeah. If we have a look in general about a will, I mean, you mentioned a will not being, you know, if the will is in place, then I suppose that lines things out and makes it a bit easier. But if there isn't a will in place, things become a lot more complicated, I imagine. If
there isn't a will, then certainly the laws of intestacy apply. And in this case, what would happen is that his entire, or whatever formed his entire estate, would then be divided among his children, and whether those be in or out of wedlock, and his wife. So if there were two children and one wife, then the entire estate would be divided into three, and each of them would be entitled. That's what automatically happens? Correct.
Okay, so in any situation under the South African law, if you don't have a will in place, automatically your assets will be given to your children and whoever you are married to.
Yes, in terms of the laws of intestacy, there's a formula which sets out how that is to be dealt with.
Yeah.
And then clearly, if the child is still a minor, whatever would accrue to that child would be paid into the Guardian's Fund, and that's administered by the Master of the High Court. And the mother, again, whoever that might be, would be entitled to go to the Master or to the Guardian's Fund and say, I need maintenance for any particular reasons, university, schooling, and that sort of thing.
What happens if there is a will and the will stipulates otherwise?
Well, if there had been no provision made for the minor child, then certainly Ms. Khumalo would be entitled on the child's behalf to lodge a claim with the executor against the estate for the maintenance of that child for the rest of its, well, certainly until it becomes self-supporting.
Yeah.
And that then would have to be actuarially determined. But she also has an obligation to maintain, so it's not entirely the estate.
Let's also look at another case scenario, and something I think that's very, very important. A lot of people in South Africa don't get married, and they live as sort of boyfriend and girlfriend, or live as partners. What happens in a case like this? You know, if somebody does die, what obligation does their partner have?
There is no real obligation.
So
nothing.
This is this is a problem in living, you know, without getting married.
Certainly customary law marriages are accepted and they are understood, and the same legal consequences would apply. I suppose that if the partner who had lost her partner may very well have some sort of claim based on a universal partnership agreement if they had been living together for many years, and certainly they had been supported by the now deceased partner. There might very well be some sort of a claim which that partner could make.
Yeah. All right, very interesting. Paul Rademan, thank you so very, very much for talking to us here on the program. And I just think this is, it's important for people to know this, because there's so many people that don't keep their will in order. And perhaps this is it's a lesson to just keep your will in order no matter which way, you know, wherever you are, whatever age you are, just make sure that you do have everything in order. Thank you very much for talking to us.
It's a pleasure.
All right, let's take a break here.